we contacted the New York Times, Nina Bernstein. She came through East Harlem, and we had an interview. I had no idea this thing was gonna
blow up
be
because
in the papers.
It blew up.
It didn't just. It was the front page of the New York Times.
I remember I was at work and I was like, "Man, keep Amadou Ly? Like, wait, what is he doing on the front page? Like, what happened?" I distinctly remember that.
Yeah.
I have a question about that because this is a anti-parentheses. Sometimes the white folk, they have this white savior sort of mentality. I'm gonna go save all the black people. I'm gonna go save all, because I'm gonna make myself feel better. Did you feel, and maybe you don't know because you were young, did you feel at that time that that's what it was? Or did you genuinely feel like they were worried about me and they really wanted me to succeed and they were in a position to help and they were trying what they could do?
Both.
Both,
I feel
okay.
Like, depending on the individual, I feel like, you had some celebrities, Hollywood celebrities that were well intentioned, that did so much behind the scenes. And they actually stated that they don't want to be known, they don't want to be listed, just don't talk about it in the media. Whereas you gotta understand, Amadou Ly died in 1999.
He did.
And he was shot 41 times.
He was.
So then, here I am, the city, people were mad at the city because of the way that went down.
Yeah.
So here I am coming as Amadou Ly. I'll be a little bit naive if I don't see a political play happening a little bit. But regardless of it, I am grateful for how things turned out. But there were some that were well intentioned. But look, my mother's a politician. When that thing blew up, Universal approached me and they were interested in making
big studio,
Universal Studios. And then they came and they bought my life rights. And
wow.
At that time, so they approached me. Hollywood sort of stepped in.
Okay.
So I started and I started having like some Hollywood celebrity friends.
Okay.
And they would invite me to their movie premieres and on set while they're shooting. Like I remember going to Burn After Readings. I remember going to a lot of Changeling, all these different movie sets. And I was like, this is
like, wow.
Wow. You know what I mean? Like, I started it seduced me. The lifestyle seduced me. And I fell for it.
You fell for that lifestyle.
It's beautiful. So then,
was it a hard fall?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was just very different. I was like, you need to tell me, because I was very insecure. It's like my grades were good. People looked at me as the next engineer or whatever. I'm smart, but deep inside, I felt like I wasn't smart enough.
That's the imposter syndrome. Have you heard of it? It happens a lot to people who are really intelligent. You are. The grades and people around you reassure you that you are. But deep down, you're like, do I fit in? If I don't get good grades, if I'm not an engineer, if I'm not this, am I gonna be okay? Are they gonna accept me? It's heavy in our culture. And I think particularly for you, because your mom, with you being the only elder boy, probably didn't even realize, the impact of I need you to make it. I need you to be successful. And then if you don't, you're disappointing her, but also yourself on something that it wasn't even your story that you wrote. It was someone who said to you, well-intentioned. But in reality, it's heavy.
Yeah.
And it's very prominent in our culture.
Yeah. So then I said, then I started training to become an actor. And finished college, and then I said, I'm gonna pursue this.
Okay.
So then I moved to Hollywood in 2009, and started hustling again, trying to get a gig, and I started working in theaters and films, and one of the films that I was blessed to work on is Twilight, and that came in as a, you know, even that it was like me having to bother my agent, telling
to
her
do the job.
to do the job. Yeah, my 15% that I'm paying you. You know, I remember, you know, a friend of mine posted on Instagram that, hey, in Twilight they're looking for this French speaking, but I believe they were looking for a Caucasian or an Asian. So I hit up my agent.
Which is so specific. Why not?
Oh, they still do that. They still do that to this day.
Okay.
So I hit up my agent and I said, look, in Twilight they're looking for this guy. She said, but you know, you're not
Asian or white.
You're not Asian or white. You started off, you know, credit. I said, just try to call and see what's gonna happen. Didn't hear from her. 2 days later, I called her. Hey, how you doing? How's it going? So they got my audition yet. She said, look, like I said, look, just call. Just, you know what I'm saying? If they say no, they say no. She didn't. 2 days later, I called back. She said, you know what, I'm gonna call the casting director. But I think she did it out of frustration. Like, I'm gonna shut this kid down. You're not listening. I'm gonna show you. This is why you're not gonna do it.
But it also sounded like you didn't believe in you, like you believed in yourself.
Yeah. I think she believed in me in a very limited way. It was more of a, oh, you can play this type of role.
Okay.
But
not this other thing. Right.
If it was a street kid, I'm perfect. You see what I mean? It was a typecast.
Yeah. And the biases, biases there from when they came out.
Yeah. I mean, actors go through that until now.
Yeah.
You know, but so I went in, I got the audition, went in, killed the casting, and they and at that time I was shooting an independent film where I was playing the lead, and the day that I got into it with the director, he called me. He said, "Man, I'm looking at these scenes. I feel like we should take it a different direction." I said, "We shot half of the film." You want to what do you want? She said, yeah, you know, I'm not happy. I said, all right, well, what's the plan? He said, well, I'm going to think maybe I can bring someone else in. Right when I'm talking to him, my line rang. And I pick up as my agent. My agent tells me, they want you for Twilight. I said, oh, word. Oh, word. Oh, man. I was like, I'm gonna call you back.
Hold on, I'm gonna call you back.
So I got back on the line. So where are you again? You want to get someone else? He said, right? He said, yeah, I just think it's someone else. I said, no, that's completely fine, man. I get it, I promise you, you know. You didn't like the scene. I ain't like them either, to be honest. But by the way, I just got cast in Twilight.
Twilight was already Twilight.
Yeah.
I mean, a monster film. You know, whoever read the book, you knew when it was going to be made a film, it was going to go beyond. And so I think you probably had a little bit of regret. Just a little bit.
Oh, yeah.
Just a little bit. Oh, yeah. But it's another lesson learned, right? Because you continue to believe in your hopes and dreams. And without your own belief and pushing your agent to say, this is made for me, I can do it, I can do it, you wouldn't have had that opportunity in that role. It wouldn't have been as successful as it, monster.
Yeah. That movie is and you know what's funny? I knew that it was, I sort of had an idea that it was big, but I didn't know the level. Until I really got into the world and, you know, media sort of picked it up because it was a media release, a press release. And I said, wow, this isn't just any film.
No.
You know, they're like, oh yeah, so we're gonna have a driver pick you up to go do a wardrobe. I said, wardrobe fit? I'll take the train. They said, no, we'll have the driver pick you up.
No, the picking.
Yeah, I'm far away from the hood at that time, boy. And then they're like, we're gonna have a driver pick you up to go contact lens measurement, whatever, all these different things. I said, wow, this is Yeah.
This is different.
This is different.
This is different.
So that's what God did for me, man. That was pretty cool.
So, lots of success. And then I remember we talked about how at some point you pivoted.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yes, you felt hard for the life because it was different than what you had come from and the experiences that you had. But at some point, I think you were like, I don't know if this is for me, right? And so what led you to that point? And how did that lead you to come back to Senegal?
You know, I was fortunate enough to go to many different places around the world.
Mm-hmm.
Twilight allowed me to sort of just go everywhere that I wanted and see that lifestyle.
Mm-hmm.
No one have to explain what that is to me
Mm-hmm.
anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I see what people are going after. So now I'm here and I'm looking at it like, oh, so this is the reason why everybody's doing this and this and this. Well, I don't know. There's something about here that I don't like. There's you know, there's a lot of people that circle. There's a circle where I feel like people aren't grounded. They're not healthy. There's a lot of drugs involved. There's a lot of loneliness. And I said, you know, okay, cool, but I want to be grounded. I started doing music. I started doing stuff that at that time I felt like I had nothing to prove anymore.
Right.
That was one, which was a big relief. I was like, ooh,
That
they thought I wasn't gonna do it.
We're back. Yeah.
Done deal.
Right.
So now I started just doing music, playing around, producing, writing my own stuff, and writing things that are meaningful. Police brutality, back to the immigration, but also. You know, fast forward even in 2020 when George Floyd died, you know, I didn't know I was gonna get into I was gonna become a criminal activist, you know, but that came along because just my natural instinct of just wanting to change things because they did that to me, for me.
Your experience, yeah. Is intrinsically related to that. I mean, you cannot not connect the dots, right? You're 14, 15, being brutalized in a sense. Maybe it wasn't as aggressive, but being brutalized, being put in a jail cell, and having an injury. No one's caring about your mental health or your physical health. And fast forward now, we're in 2020, and we're still seeing that. You know, and I think it was probably a call to duty for you. Like, I gotta do something. This isn't right.
Yeah, it was an interesting that it's bigger than that. It was bigger than me. I almost felt like it was my ancestors that were like, because my mom's bloodline is, you know, the Mboja people. They ruled for a long time. Like, those were the queens. Like, don't mess around. So I felt like
you guys can Google that around that Ayala. Okay, the whole story about it, you know, sidebar.
Yeah. So I felt like I couldn't sit. I just couldn't sit home
And do
nothing. And then when I got involved, it just God made it like I had to lead some of these protests. And I said, okay, cool. So then we made that happen.
So you found yourself as a representative of the Black Lives Matter movement in the U.S.
Yeah.
Okay. And so how was that? Because you have this media personality, and yes, I understand you didn't have anything to prove to anybody, but I think there was a time when the people who had the decisions and the money tried to sort of distinguish themselves away from people who were being activists because they just didn't want their product or their name associated with those kinds of things. And here you are, in a sense, if you were thinking about continuing in that industry, you kind of needed them. So how did you make the decision that, you know what, fuck it?
Yeah, I don't know. I just didn't care anymore.
Okay.
I felt like, you know what? If I'm gonna have my niece and my nephew grow up in this country, I don't want them to grow up like watching this. And if I cowered in the same way people with money are doing, this thing is not going to change. And I felt like, you know what? That and Hollywood is sick too, because there's many roles that could be given to black people that aren't. So it was just a lot of frustration, and I think I got to a point where it was just, I don't give a fuck. We're doing this. And I think that led to me coming back, because I reached a point where I didn't want to be that person, because that wasn't going to be healthy for me living in America with that mindset.
The mindset of, you give it to me, I give it back.
Yeah.
So how long has the studio been up and running? This is it right here, right? I'm in the studio.
That is it. So we opened, this was in November. Yeah, I think it was November, end of November. And then took a hiatus because of the election. And now, you know, and I was fortunate enough to have some of the mayors and all these different people giving out scholarships to the students
who are attending school now.
Who are attending the school. Yeah. So I'm blessed. It's a full circle.
It sounds like it is.
Yeah.
What is a challenge that you feel like you've had to? There's so many. We don't need to talk about them all. But to be living in the U.S., to have a certain lifestyle, to have a certain amount of money, to have certain things in place, to come back home, and maybe some of the things that you were accustomed to from the U.S. are not always here, right? What is some of the challenges that you feel like, realistically, if anyone's thinking about going back home, you really do need to consider this and sort of prepare yourself a bit, if you can, that you can share with the audience? You
gotta be patient, because Senegal, you know, the administrative, it's the Senegalese administration, but it's French influence. So it's a bit slow. Compared to when you're in New York, where the system works very, very fluid. Like there's this, you do this, and you get that. In Senegal, it works that way, but it's just a little bit slower.
So patient.
You need patience. Otherwise, you're gonna drive yourself crazy. I'm very impatient because I'm used to a rhythm.
Yes.
But one thing that I would say too is that part of the reason why I'm here is because, you know, I want to get in touch with the soil, recharge. Like I always tell people, it felt like I was a cell phone away from its tower. You know what I mean? From its tower. Like I felt disconnected. So coming back, you know, speaking well of, you know, Senegalese women, you know, the food.
You're Senegalese women. Yo.
Oh, I'm just shouting them out. You know, it's my duty. I can't help it. All of that. I miss all of that. The music. Go to Youssou N'Dour concert.
Yes.
I mean, come on. I miss all of that. Lamba, you know.
Relax.
You know. All of that. So I needed to be here at this time. I knew I had to be here.
How often do you go back? Now that you're home.
I went 2 months ago, but it was I had to, you know, there was some administrative stuff I had to do in America. I went for 6 days.
6 days.
That was enough.
You were like, I need to go back.
Man, you know what? I never thought I'd reach this point. Never in my life. I wouldn't even believe if someone would have told me that I'd reach a point where I just want to be here in Senegal. I just want to cuddle this Senegalese air
and be home. Be home.
Yeah. So, but America was great to me. I've had so much, and still there's a lot of things that I think that's going to come in the pipeline. But I'm very grateful for what America gave me too.
But I think it also prepared you for the next chapter.
Amen.
Right? And so you are the author of this book. And so the next chapter right now is to be in Senegal. Do you have any plans or ambitions to make Amadou Ly Studio a Pan-African? film company, or do you want it to
Yeah.
be?
Yeah. I do actually. Part of the reason why I chose to start with this because it's a reintroduction of my culture.
Mm-hmm.
I get to mingle with the students and see the reality of Senegal.
Mm-hmm.
That way, when I decide to write a story, which I have decided already, but it was a way for me to come through the back door and just watch.
Okay.
So I have a couple of stuff that I'm getting ready to do. That I'm excited.
I'm excited for you. One last thing that I always ask my friends, because everybody who talks to me, they're definitely my friends. Is there anything that you miss about back home, as in the U.S.? Because it's also home, of course, but back home. Is there anything where you're like, damn?
Yeah, you know something. California. Like the last time I went, I was walking into this apartment complex and I passed by this door, this apartment, and this woman had a dream board, a vision board in front of her door in Hollywood, and I see her holding the Oscar, all of that stuff. That belief, like that go getter. It reminded me when I first got to Cali.
Right.
I miss being circled by that surrounding because it's there's something to it where everybody's just. Here you have that, but it's much more relaxed.
It is.
You're enjoying while you're doing while you're going for it. That I miss.
I don't know, and we'll end on this note. I don't know what it is about the U.S. I can't speak about Europe because that's not my knowledge point. But I don't know what it is about the U.S. But for the most part, and I'm going to generalize, most of the people that I know that come out of there, they have that. Oh, you think I can't do it? Oh, well, watch me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's just the history that we have as Black people, as Africans within that context, and always being oppressed, always being put down, always having to prove and show who we are, that you develop this thick skin where nothing shocks you. And it's like, I'm gonna show you that I can do it. And it furthers the belief that you have in yourself.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And I see it a lot for our brothers and sisters who are coming from the US. Yeah. And you're right, it does exist here. No shade.
No shades, yeah.
It does exist, but it's like in the water in the US.
Yeah, it's in the water. There's something to living in Harlem and then seeing all these skyscrapers, all these tall, nice buildings, and all these escalades that are passing by, just nice cars. I'm like, man, I want that. Like,
I'm gonna own that one day.
I'm gonna own that one day,
Right.
And I think that American dream is real. Is when because they brand it that way.
Yes, they do.
And it works actually. I mean, it definitely.
Well, hard work.
For me.
Hard work and some luck. A little bit of luck.
Blessing.
Yeah, blessing.
It's God is awesome.
Well, thank you for talking with me.
Thank you for having me.
I so appreciate our conversations. This is Manas from 221 Africa. Thank you. Wait, I always wanted to ask you, Heinz, where is that from? Is it like Heinz ketchup? Where is that?
Wow. Yeah. See, that goes back to some of my people in America who call me Heinz ketchup. I said that. You know something now? My full name is Amadou Ly. My father's best friend is German.
Okay.
But look how it worked out because that name really fit me to the T. Amadou is very the African, but you got a Heinz, which is more of which have a European influence, and then you have Lee, which is the spiritual side. So it fits me perfectly. Actually.
Thank you. So, I always wanted to know that. Thank you for sharing. Right.
Heinz ketchup, peace out.
Thank you so much, guys. See you later.